Hello everybody, my name's Ray and welcome back to the channel. So first of all, I'd like to make an official announcement, and that is that 2025 has not yet started. I suspect that this January has been 2024 in disguise, because I do not feel like we have had a fresh new beginning to the year. There's just so much going on. So I'm making the official executive decision that it is not 2025 just yet, and that maybe let's have February as the start. I'd also explain why I haven't made this video until now. I've been feeling pretty rotten and I was going to wait until I was feeling better, but if I wait that long, you know, you're just not going to get a 2025 TBR video. If I took my evening and explained every single book that I could pick up this year, this is going to take it'll take hours, because I'm such a mood reader. I read from so many different types of fiction and non-fiction that, you know, it could be anything. So I'm not telling you what to expect from the channel this year. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a tour of my intentions, which, if you look at the books that are on it, some of them have been on my list for a good while now. So, you know, whether or not they'll get read remains to be seen. I'm going to kick off with fantasy, because this is the most social of the genres I'm reading. It's the one that I've got most people buddy reading with me. I know quite a lot of the people who watch this channel are super into their fantasy, so I'm going to get kicked off by explaining what my fantasy intentions are this year. So I'm currently making my way through the Realm of the Elderlings, but every trilogy I need to take a break, to pause, to reflect and to recover, because these are I'm heavily emotionally invested. And also, you know, these are my favourite books, and I don't want to rush them. I'm about halfway through Fool's Fate now. As you can see on the shelf right in the middle there, we've got the Rainwilds collection, and then behind that we've got The Fitz and the Fool. I'm going to be reading them in chronological order, with or without my current buddy reader, depending on what he's up to. Hello Cams, if you're watching. I'm really enjoying doing it as a buddy read, because we get to chat lots about what's going on, and it's just nice to have the enthusiasm and the support along with the books. And I'll be posting a video, but it will be absolutely full of spoilers, so only watch that if you've already read the Tawny Man trilogy and want to have a chat about it. So obviously working my way through Robin Hobb is going to be a huge priority this year. She's my favourite author probably of all time, although I am a huge fan of Stuart Turton as well. I'm always plugging his books as well. You know, there are some great authors out there, but Robin Hobb is absolutely phenomenal. Fantasy-wise, what am I going to do when I've finished Fool's Fate? And I need something for that interim. I've got a few options, and there's a few buddy reads going on, both on Discord, on my friends' channels, on Instagram, on Litsy, or you know, in the kind of physical world as well. But here are some that I am going to be hopefully prioritising for this year. One is Malazan, and a friend of mine recommended this back to me when I lived in Lancaster. A friend called Tim, who says that this will be right up my alley. This is his favourite series ever. My understanding is that it's completely overly complicated, lots of different stuff going on. You have to make notes, you have to kind of be paying attention, but the reward is great. So my understanding is that if you get through Malazan and if you enjoy it, it will make it into your top ones. The Brothers Gwyn Discord are doing a read along, I believe, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this. I also have very beautiful Subterranean press edition. I think I'm probably going to read my old paperback so that it doesn't get scuffed, although it does have nice pictures, so I don't know. That remains to be seen. I'll show it off when I do that video. But Gardens of the Moon, I've been told Malazan is one that I need to get into, so that is well up there on the list. It's hiding behind bookshops and bone dust at the moment, but I read Shadow of the Gods towards the end of last year, and I need to finish the Bloodsworn trilogy. A Viking-like saga, lots of badass characters, strong female characters that are very likely to bury an axe in your head. Yeah, it's brilliant. So I'm not as emotionally invested as I am in, say, you know, Realm of the Elderlings, because I've not been reading it as long as my first encounter with John Gwynne's work. I've heard that his Malice, the series that begins with Malice, Fallen and the Furious or something? Not the Fast and the Furious. Land of the Fallen, Fallen and the... Oh, guys, guys, I'm sleepy. Yeah, he's a great writer, and I'm very much looking forward to finishing those. They are action-packed, there's lots going on, the characters are brilliant, so sign me up for finishing those ones off towards the beginning of the year. Another one, which my friend Mare from Lady Mare reads, The Will and the Many. Every time you say the name of this book, it summons her. She absolutely adores it. My understanding is that there are dark academia vibes here, that it's a very emotional journey. I want to go in not knowing anything, so I'm going to leave it at that. I've got a couple of copies of this, both with very nice covers. I don't have the copy I want, which is the broken binding edition with the red. But yeah, I've got to stop doing this, buying several copies of books, but I am pretty confident I'm going to like this. The people that I generally trust the judgment of like this book, so, and the only thing is, have I been overhyping it to myself? It's a possibility, but that is got to be first quarter, got to read this. So in fact, that's probably #1 book I need to get to once I've finished reading the books that I'm reading at the moment. And I'm just going to put a little diagram up. These are the books that I'm either reading now or going to be reading, you know, very, very soon. They're the ones that are basically lying around in my living room waiting for me to read them. Currently reading The Pisces, Voyage of the Damned, and the book on art at the bottom. They will hopefully be in my January wrap-up video, so I'm not going to talk too much about them now, but these are the books that are kind of, you know, next in line, next up, as it were. So I'm going to stick this, in fact I'm going to take this downstairs with me, and I'm going to put it in a prominent position so I can't ignore it any longer. Another fantasy book that and this is under the Ray, why haven't you read this yet? I have seen R.F. Kuang talk about this book live once for the Edinburgh Book Festival on Video Link, and once in real life in Manchester. Babel, a political fantasy novel about translation, about words, about colonialism, I believe, and it's set in an alternative Oxford, and my understanding is that there is magic too. This has been at the top of my list for so long, and the only problem is, it's like when you've had a book on your TBR for so long, you kind of think you've read it even though you haven't. So yes, this is, again, dark academia vibes, got to get to it. Very, very important. Top of the list this year. I'll be very cross with myself if I haven't read that by summertime. You can tell me off. you can give me a little lecture. Fantasy adjacent, and this is more magical realism, I believe, I'm not sure. I keep being told I have to read The Night Circus. One of my favourite books of all time, The Glass Books of the Dream Eaters. For one of the book challenges, it said to ask an AI chatbot what to read next. So I did that, and it said this one. Obviously I already had it. Based on my favourite book. My understanding is that some people love the whimsy and how beautifully surreal this is, and other people are just completely underwhelmed by it and say it was just alright. Speaking of Erin Morgenstern, I also have The Starless Sky. No, The Starless Sea. I don't know, probably thought it was sky because seas don't traditionally have stars in them. This book, I've been told, is kind of a story within a story. So it's yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that one a lot more than I am with The Night Circus, because it sounds like it's more my jam. But it's one of those, it's like Babel, it's just been on my TBR for so long, being ignored, can't ignore it any further. It needs to be read. Needs to be read. Another one that's, and this is purely on being highly rated and recommended by people that I trust, Ted Chiang's Exhalation. Now, I'm not a short story girl usually. I tend to prefer longer works. I've been told it's a fantastic, very, very special book of short stories. And I've had this book on my shelf since it was out in hardback, because this is an original hardback, UK hardback. So I need to read this. I've heard all of the people, I believe it's more sci-fi, I believe it's sci-fi. You know, I've been told that this is a must read, and I'm embarrassed that it's still here. I need to get to that. I need to get sorted with that. Again, it's going on the stack. Tell me off at the end of 2025 if I still haven't got to it. Another book that I'm embarrassed I haven't read yet, because I actually bought this for someone as a blind date with a book based on the kind of Wicker Man vibes on the cover. I love the cover of this. This is Lost in the Garden by Adam S. Leslie, and it is a folk horror. Some friends go somewhere in the English countryside and horror abounds. So not only did I buy this for someone for a blind date with a book, but I seem to have unwittingly influenced fellow friends in the process. I understand that my friend Steffi, one of my Litsy buddies who I go to Gladstone's library with, she is currently reading this now. I'll be very excited to know what she thinks. This is the problem with doing this kind of video. It makes me realise I want to read all of these immediately, and what am I gonna... I have to do things like work. I just wish I had like 1 million hours a day to read all of these. But yeah, in terms of horror picks, that is going to be up there. Also need to read some cozy fantasy, because my mum keeps telling me I need to read something cheerful. I'm reading a lot of kind of heavy non-fiction books, a lot of political stuff, political literature as well, so literature that's got lots of kind of social commentary in. And yes, it's heavy stuff, so I need some books in my life that have covers like this. This looks like the sort of thing you put on a jigsaw puzzle. The Teller of Small Fortunes, Julia Leong. I need to read this because it's one of the books I have whose cover I like the most. And if you buy a book because you're in love with the cover and you're in love with the vibes that it brings, it's got to be up to the top of the list, surely. You know, let's cheer Ray up in 2025, because I need it. But now going into literary fiction. Now, literary fiction, I've got tons of books that I haven't read yet and that have been on my shelves for years, going slightly yellow around the edges. So I've only got a few here that are definite must prioritise, must read soon, and one of them, you're going to be surprised I haven't read it already. It's massive. The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is a romantic story of Achilles and Patroclus. I read the Iliad and I was already reading it in a romantic sense. I know that there's a lot of argument amongst scholars about whether or not the relationship is romantic or not, but Achilles' reaction to something that happens to Patroclus. Is it a spoiler if it's Homer? I'm not going to tell you what happens to them anyway, just in case. This is a retelling of that story, and I've heard it is beautiful, considering the Iliad was largely people naming ships and shooting each other in the nipples. This, I'm hoping, will give a little bit more of a modern spin to it, because you know, after a while the list of nipple shootings became it wasn't fascinating. Like, I appreciate the Iliad, but I always feel with Homer that we're getting the bit of the story that isn't the best bit of the story. Like, we get like a snapshot of the fighting, but all the stuff that led to the war sounds fascinating. And obviously you've got all the other kind of Greek myths and legends. So I kind of feel like huge parts of the story are missing. You just get a little bit of action. I'm not gonna complain about Homer's writing. It is something that has survived down the ages, is still enjoyed very much today. You know, I'm just talking as a modern reader. So let's see what Madeline Miller brings to the table. I've heard it's amazing. So if I don't like it, I'd be extremely, extremely surprised. Also in the literary fiction, I need to read some more Sarah Waters. I love Sarah Waters. I love Tipping the Velvet. That was 5 stars. I love The Night Watch. That was 4 stars for me. Her character work is fantastic. Her yearning love is brilliant. Her historical atmospheres are great. So yeah, Fingersmith, which is another of her Victorian novels, I will be very excited to read. It's been on my list for ages. I've also got The Paying Guests as well, but Fingersmith is one that's on more lists of kind of books you need to read. So yeah, Sarah Waters, this one is gotta be done this year. When I'm finished with all my fantasy. I've got so much fantasy on the list, and that's the trouble. That's the influence of you guys, you know. I know a lot of people who watch this channel like the fantasy stuff. A lot of you just keep recommending them to me. What can I do? What can I do? I'm very very easily influenced. But yeah, this one has to be read. I've heard great things. Another of my favourite historical fiction authors, Laura Shepherd Robinson. Laura Shepherd Robinson is wonderful. I have met her in real life, but unfortunately it was before I'd actually read her book. So it was more of an encounter that was, my friend likes your book, I think I'm going to like your book. This is the third copy I've bought, please sign it. And yeah, but she was absolutely lovely. She has got another book coming out this year. It's got a pineapple on the front. I think it's called The Art of a Lie or something like that. And I will be first in the queue for it. But I want to read some more. The book that I read in question was called The Square of Sevens, and it was insanely good. It's a historical romp, it's got mystery, it's got lots going on, and it's a big chunkster. It's about 600 pages, I think. And it just built and built and built. You know how some books start off good and then kind of tail away after a while? This one just got better and better and better and better and crescendoed. So yeah, Laura Shepherd Robinson, brilliant writer, and I want to read Blood and Sugar. So this is for 1781. Her books tend to be a little bit further back than usual. Most historical fiction is either kind of Victorian or even further back in Tudor times, and she goes for Georgian most of the time. So I would be, yeah, and this one again, it looks kind of murdery. An unidentified body hangs upon a hook at Deptford Dock, horribly tortured and branded with a slaver's mark. Some days later, Captain Harry Corsham, a war hero embarking upon a promising parliamentary career, is visited by the sister of an old friend. Her brother, passionate abolitionist Tad Archer, has been about to expose a secret that he believed could cause irreparable damage to the British slaving industry. He'd said people were trying to kill him, and now he's missing. The blurb goes on. It all sounds great. Murder, mystery, historical, right up my alley. And she's very literary as well. Her writing is beautiful. Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. This is my friend Randy's favourite book, or at least one of his favourite books. I trust his judgment. He is usually pretty wise when it comes to this sort of thing. And my understanding is that in a similar vein to Catch-22, it's quite anti-war. So I loved Catch-22. I thought it was a fantastic book, bittersweet, funny, but also sad. And Slaughterhouse-Five, it's only short. Why have I not read it yet? It needs to be prioritised this year. Speaking of books that come very, very highly recommended, A Visit from the Goon Squad. I actually don't know what this book is about, but it is well thought of to be Jennifer Egan's best book. I read a book called The Keep by her. She's a fantastic writer. It was kind of a little niche read about a guy going to restore a keep. Had gothic vibes, but wasn't thoroughly gothic, and it had kind of a teacher-student story going on in a prison alongside, and it kind of all wrapped in with itself by the end. Lovely little book, would recommend. This is apparently her best work. So A Visit from the Goon Squad, no idea what it's about. All I know is that it's good. It's been on the list for too long and it needs tackling. A few authors that I've read some of and want to read more of. Helen Oyeyemi, I read What Is Not Yours Is Not Yours. It's one of the most beautiful books I own in terms of physical binding. This is Oyeyemi's next novel, I think. People on a Train. See, this is all very well researched, isn't it? I really like the cover. It's kind of it gives kind of minimalist, kind of modern art kind of look to it. Her writing was really dreamlike, and yep, I will be putting that hopefully on my soon to read list. I'd like to read some more James Baldwin. I read The Fire Next Time, but I'd like to read one of his novels. This book is about an affair between two men, and I believe was quite controversial at the time. James Baldwin is a fantastic writer and all-round legend. So that is very much up there for prioritising this year. I'd like to read some more Mona Awad. She's weird. If anyone's read The Fever Dream, that is Bunny. She's weird. Rouge I bought because I like, again, it's a cover by, look at that, it's beautiful. I absolutely hated her first book, hated it with a passion. It's called 13 Ways of Looking at a Fat Girl. Do not read it if you're fat, it will make you feel really, really miserable. So yeah, I would avoid that one like the plague, although Roxane Gay blurbed it, so you know, don't just take my word for it. But seriously, I wrote a big long rant about it. Great writer, horrible book. Bunny, again, a very unique Bunny was a very unique reading experience, and I'm hoping that Rouge, and I've got All's Well downstairs as well, which I can read for one of the reading challenges I'm doing. I'm not sure which one. It suggests reading a book with a character in chronic pain, and I believe All's Well fits the prompt for that. So I'm going to read some Mona Awad, hopefully. An author I haven't read yet, but again I've been told good things about, and they've just put out another book as well. This one's Penance, which seems more mystery-like rather than horror-like. But there's a book called She's Always Hungry that's just come out as well. I've got a fantastic independent hardback edition. And I've heard great things. So this is an author that I really, really would like to explore this year. And this is about the murder of a 16-year-old girl in retrospect. And it's basically the friends, I believe, trying to unravel what happened. What other general fiction / literary fiction have I got around here? Becky, if you're watching me, I am going to read some Virginia Woolf eventually. I did try to start The Lighthouse, but it was a slow start, so I didn't get very far. I've got my beautiful copy. I've got Mrs. Dalloway on the shelf over there. I've got The Waves downstairs. I need to read some Virginia Woolf. I know I need to read some Virginia Woolf. You've got impeccable taste, and yes, I will let you know what I think when I've read it. She's on my list. And I'm not going to do non-fiction today, because non-fiction, again, I just pick up, I've got a huge stack of them, and I just pick up what I feel like at any given time. There's no rhyme or rhythm to it. I've got books about, a lot of books about social justice that I want to read, including things about inequality in the NHS. Lots of books, you know, basically to try and broaden my perspective. And, you know, unfortunately, there aren't enough hours in the day, and I wish I could just kind of keep them coming. Also, I've lost my Kindle somewhere around here, or in my parents' house, or downstairs. I don't know. If anyone wants to play Where's Wally with Where's Ray's Kindle, it's in a dark blue fuzzy case. If it turns up, please let me know, because I'm halfway through a book by Roxane Gay that I really should have finished by now. So yeah. So finally, I'm going to talk about crime and mystery, a genre that is more for my entertainment than for anything else. I read mystery just for the love of it. I am planning on doing a few mystery videos in the first half of the year, including kind of genre hybrid and meta mysteries, top 10 mysteries of all time, authors that you have to check out. I am planning some mystery videos, so if you're a mystery fan, maybe worth sticking around. Currently, I need to carry on with my Poirot readathon, and I'm as far as Dumb Witness. I love this episode. I mean, I probably can remember who did it, but I'm hoping that it won't be obvious in the book and I'll still get something out of it. So I'm not even halfway down. You can see it's just about here. I'm not even halfway down. But you can't go wrong with Agatha Christie. Agatha Christie is the master. So yeah, this one is where the ghost accuses the dog of doing it, I think. Can't wait. Again, kind of hybrid, kind of horror mystery, Simone St. James. I have been told I need to read her. I've got 3 books by her, including one that was an Evernight horror pick called Murder Road, The Sundown Hotel. I love this cover. It's kind of a nocturne noir. It's giving kind of road trip. I'm hoping that this isn't another hotel that's bigger on the inside than the outside, because that seems to be the amount of books I read that are like, so-and-so turns up to a building and it turns out it's bigger than it was than it appeared on the outside. Seems to be, I thought that was a really original idea when I read House of Leaves. It was the one thing I did like about House of Leaves. I hated that book, but it was the one thing I did like about House of Leaves, and then it's been replicated quite a bit since. But yeah, motel, thriller, on my list. Also want to read some more CJ Tudor. I love CJ Tudor. I did read a book by her called The Drift, which was kind of a post-apocalyptic sci-fi mystery. Possibly one of the most miserable books I've ever read in my life, but very, very good. And I believe that this is going to be another kind of book with sci-fi or post-apocalyptic elements. Perhaps zombies. Who knows? I'm getting a bit of a Stephen King vibe off the front. But they gave proper Harlan Coben snappy chapters, that sort of thing. So if you're a fan of that kind of thriller, she's one to watch. I've also decided I want to diversify my mystery reading, and I couldn't sleep one night, and I spent quite a lot of time looking for African detective stories and mysteries, and it's actually a lot harder to find them, because obviously I've got a whole stack of Japanese mysteries that have all been translated, and I did buy a few, including this one, which is by I believe a Nigerian author, Leye Adenle, and it's called Easy Motion Tourist, and it's a thriller, and I've got on the back kind of Tarantino goes to Lagos. So it'll just be good to read some mysteries that, you know, that are set in other places, and, you know, thrillers from different cultures I'm very interested in. So yeah, I've got a few from various different African countries. I say it's difficult, because if you know where I can find various different continents, like a list, because I've been on several blogs, and honestly it was harder to find them than I thought it would be. So yeah, I'm going to give that one a go. There is another chap who wrote a book that I definitely need to get my hands on. I might have bought it for my Kindle and then lost my Kindle, but yeah, that one's probably first on the list for that. I've got some more Claudia Pinheiro, who is an Argentinian author and most famous for her mysteries. So yes, I decided to get one that was definitely a mystery, because the last one, Claudia Knows, not Claudia Knows, I've done it again. Eleanor Knows, not Claudia Knows by Eleanor Pinheiro, Claudia Knows, Eleanor Knows by, okay, I think it's time to get some dinner. But yeah, this one is apparently definitely a mystery / crime novel, whereas that was definitely more of a literary fiction one. So yeah, that can go on my mystery pile. There's loads of mysteries that I've got to get to. I've got a huge stack of them, including some more Richard Osman, some more Chris Brookmeyer. I've got some Ian Rankin. I felt like I wanted to go back and do some vintage, you know, back to vintage kind of vintage thrillers from the like 90s, early 2000s. I just felt in the mood for that. I've got some Dorothy Sayers. I've read the first 2 Peter Wimsey novels and I'm not impressed so far, but I'm hoping, I've been told that they get better. So I'm going to persevere with a few more of those. I want to read some more Raymond Chandler, and it's just fallen into my eye range. This is probably going to be the year that I read ACOTAR. Definitely got mixed reviews. I think it's one of those where you either love it, hate it, or haven't read it and still hate it. I am looking forward to reading some Sarah J Maas. I understand that they're saucy fantasy novels that you know, are greatly enjoyed across social media. So I'll be reading those. I'll be hopefully reading the Fourth Wing trilogy. I've got plenty to keep me busy this year. Anyway, I'll probably think of about 1 million books that I should have put in this video, but those are the nearest to me. So I hope you all have a fantastic week, and I will catch up with you soon for another video. Thank you for watching. Mwah.